Hello, this is the 6.11 tutorial. To begin this lesson, we're going to start with a new drawing. Once your templates load, make sure you load the proper McFatter template. Your file location where you saved it may vary. In my case, I saved mine in my documents, in my McFatter templates folder. And we're going to use the McFatter ACAD template. Make this a little bit easier to see, I'm going to go ahead and turn off the grid. This next step you do not have to do. I'm going to insert the assignment into the drawing. Okay. Now we can see the drawing that we're working with today. We're going to go ahead and start with drawing our limits for this drawing, the exterior of the piece. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw a line starting right here, anywhere along the black area. We'll go ahead and type in 2. Then we'll point our mouse down at 2. Remember, you always want to make sure you have the ortho command on. If you don't have the ortho command on, you can turn it on at this location here. Pointing it to the left, we're going to type in 2 again. And then to close it up, 2 once more. We now have our square, our 2 by 2. Now let's go ahead and start working our way around the project. The top and bottom are both 0.25. So I'm going to take this line here. I'm going to use the copy command. Copy. Selecting a base point anywhere away from the object, and then moving it with ortho on to the right. And I'm going to type in 0.25, enter. Right click, enter. Then I have a line to work with. Next, we're going to go ahead and work with this 45 degrees. If we were to break our triangle up into a right triangle, both sides, this top portion and this bottom portion, will both be 45 degrees. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line from this endpoint right here. I'm going to pull it to the right and move my mouse in a downward direction. As long as you have diagnostic input on, dynamic input, this blue icon right here. If you don't see it, you can load it through your other tools. Make sure, what did I have check marked? Just check marked on yours as well. Now with it active, we're going to just pull it straight down. The distance down does not matter. We're going to go ahead and hit the tab key. And then now we can control the angle. We're going to set it to 45, enter. And that strikes the line at 45 degrees. So we now have our diagonal. We're going to go ahead and change the line type to a center line. We're going to draw it from the bottom, going straight up, and place it anywhere along here. This is going to be our midpoint of the object. You see our middle line. Next thing we're going to do, we're going to take that line, we're going to select it, use the copy command, and move it over to the left. The total distance of this gap from here to here is 0.1. So we're going to do half of that distance. So we're going to type in 0.05, enter. Right click, enter. Then I'm going to select this line that we just copied over, and I'm going to change that to our 0 layer. Escape. Now we need to worry about what the depth of that cut is. From the very top down, it's 1. So we're going to use the copy command, selecting the top, right click, selecting a base point out in the middle of nowhere, bringing that line down with ortho, and typing in 1. Enter. Now we know where the depth of that cut is going to be. We can now use the trim command, using the center line to escape. Start that again. Trim command. We use that copied line right here as one of the cutting boundaries. We're also going to use the diagonal 45 line and the very bottom of this right here. I'm going to right click. Then we're going to cut away at the bottom line, the line at the 45, and the top. Then we're going to right click, enter. As you see, this line right here was also a cutting plane, so it cut that line going diagonal. We're going to go ahead and just select that line and hit the delete key. Then we're going to use the trim command again, using the center line this time to right click and cut away at the remaining of that line. And we're going to repeat the trim command again, using what little line we have left here, that 0.05. Going to go ahead and cut this bottom line right here. And now we already have that little funnel shape that we have located here. You'll notice that I'm drawing only half of the object. I'm going to show you another technique to use when drawing, how you can go ahead and make your work flow a little bit faster. So the bottom here is going to rise up by 0.125. So I'm going to go ahead and use the copy command, selecting the very bottom of this, right click, picking a base point in the black, and going up 0.125, enter, right click, enter. Next I have another dimension coming from the bottom, going up 0.5. Go ahead and repeat copy, select the bottom line, right click, pick a base point in the black, moving up, and typing in 0.5, enter, right click, enter. Next we're going to go up another 0.375. Go ahead and right click, repeat copy, select the line here, right click, pick a base point, move it up, and type in 0.375, enter, right click, enter. Then I'm going to start trimming this out. I'm going to select these 4 lines right here, my crossing window, going from right to left bottom. Now that those are now my cutting edges, I'm going to right click to end that. And now I can go ahead and start trimming. I'm going to trim out the extra lines that I don't need here, 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 and here. Right click, enter. You know, I need one more trim right here to go ahead and get the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and undo that. Use the undo command right here. Now I'm going to use the trim command, selecting all 4 of those lines. Right click. Now I want to cut this line first, because this is going to be that cut return right here on the very bottom. All right. Now I can go ahead and select these lines, this line here, and this line right here. right click, enter. And now I can just go ahead, since I had that line cut, I'll just drop that line coming right down and add that line in. I'm going to also highlight that window with a blue highlight window going from left to right. I'm going to change the line type to layer 0. Hit the escape key. As you can see, half the drawing is already done. I'm going to go ahead and take this to show you the mirror command. In order to do this, we're going to start with the trim command, using that center line as our cutting plane. And I'm going to right click and cut away at the lines I don't need. Once they are removed, I'm going to select this extra line and hit delete. One more trim right here, opening up that V. Let's go ahead and select the trim command, select our cutting plane, right click, and then select our line to cut. Right click, enter. Let's also go ahead and clean up the bottom. Right click, repeat trim. Select this line right here. Right click, and then select the line below. Right click, enter. Now I have the shape in place. Let's go ahead and use the mirror command. Select mirror. Then I'm going to use the blue highlight going from my upper left-hand corner, going across the drawing, making sure not to cross over my center line and cross over the entire object. If your center line is too small and you can't avoid it, you can also go ahead and select each line individually. Once I have my lines selected, it tells me that there are 12 lines found. I'm going to right click until I'm done selecting objects. Now it asks me at the bottom of the screen, specify first point of mirror line. I'm going to go ahead and start at the top. I can also start at the bottom, does not matter. And then I'm going to either go up or down, depending upon which beginning point I chose. Making sure ortho is on. Also, if you have any other objects that have snap points, make sure you avoid this. We need this line to be perfectly going from top to bottom or bottom to top. Once I go ahead and select, the bottom prompt key at the bottom here will say erase source object. Yes, no. The default is set to no. If yours is set to yes, make sure to put no in. I only have to hit the enter key because mine already says no. Now I have the object all done. Just for a little bit of simplicity, I'm going to select that center line and I'm going to move it down just ever so slightly to make it look more uniform. Making sure that you did the ortho, going straight down. I also wanted to avoid my object so I didn't snap to anything, cause it to move. Now I need to go ahead and do the side view. I'm going to go ahead and change my layer back to layer 0. I'm going to project some lines from the very top going across. Distance here doesn't really matter too much. If it's too short, you elongate it. If it is within reason, then you'll trim it. Let's go ahead and right click, repeat line, select the bottom, bring it across. And then I'm going to go ahead and start a line from approximately somewhere around in this area here and come straight down. Right click, enter. I'm going to go ahead and use the trim command, selecting that line to remove these lines here. I'm then going to use this line and copy, picking a base point out in the black, coming across. The distance is the thickness of the piece. It goes back 4. So I'm going to type in 4. Right click, enter. This is the phase that if your line for some reason is shorter, you will use the extend command. To demonstrate, I'll go ahead and use extend. Selecting my boundary edge, right click, select the line I would like to elongate, right click, enter. If you have the line with extra, You're going to switch over to the trim command, select your boundary edge, right click, and then select the objects you want to erase. Click enter. Let's go ahead and get rid of any extra on the top and the bottom. Right click, repeat trim. Selecting my two cutting planes, right click, selecting that, and selecting those two. Notice that if I go past it, it gets confused on what to cut. So make sure you don't go past your cutting plane. Click enter. All right, now we have the perimeter of the side view. Let's go ahead and project our rest of our lines. So I'm going to go ahead and project the edge right here, going straight across. I can go to the perpendicular. Be very careful not to hit the midpoint. Midpoint is above where we want to go. So we'll hit the perpendicular, right click, enter. Right click, repeat line. Selecting that endpoint there and bringing that across, right click, enter. I'm going to use the trim command, selecting that front, right click, and then select these two lines and get rid of them. Now, these are all of our solid lines that we're going to need for this drawing. So let's go ahead and change those now when we have the opportunity, avoiding that center line. I'm going to highlight across. I'm going to highlight these as well. And I'm going to zoom in and get that line as well. Remember, you can zoom in and out with your scroll in the center of the mouse. So now that I have all those lines selected, let's go ahead and change our line type to object and hit the escape key. Go ahead and verify that all your hard edges are object layer lines. From here, let's go ahead and change our line type to hidden. We will start a line from the first of the hidden lines and project it straight across. I'm going to go past this time. Right click, enter. Right click, repeat line. Selecting another line, bringing it across. Right click, enter. Right click, repeat command. Right click, escape key. Right click, repeat line. Go ahead and select this endpoint right here and bring it across. Select, right click, enter. Now I'm going to go ahead and use the trim command, selecting the front and the back of the piece. Right click, and I'm going to remove my extra lines on this side. And then I'm going to remove my extra lines on this side here. Right click, enter. And there's the drawing. I'm going to go ahead and move this a little bit out of the way, making sure I have a nice clean work area. I'm going to go ahead and proceed with the dimensions at this point. Our dimensions should be placed at 3 decimal places. We can check that by doing units, U-N-I-T-S, enter. And you can see our precision is set to 3 places. So I'm not going to have to change anything here. I'm going to exit that. Then I can check our dim style, D-I-M. And you can see style. Go ahead and modify that. Even though we can see that it's 3 places, we get used to using our primary units, checking if it's decimal and if our precision is the correct spot. If it is, we can just go ahead and hit the cancel button and then close that menu. Now we're ready to start dimensioning. Let's go ahead and change our layer to the Anno layer. Go ahead and use our linear dimension, start placing our dimensions. Now, because we want the text on the left-hand side for the left-hand side of this drawing, we're going to start right here on the right of the line, and then selecting the left of the line, and then bringing it up. Make it nice and clear. Place that dimension. Then I'll go ahead and repeat the dimension. And this time I'm going to start at the left of this side and go to the right. And I'm going to bring it up. To line these two up so they look uniform, I'm going to go ahead and click the end point of that arrow so they line up nice and neat. Let's go ahead and do the angle dimension. So we go to our linear, see the drop-down menu, pick angular, selecting our center line, then selecting the line on the angle. We can then see our 45. We can pull that up, Try and keep it nice and neat. Placing that dimension. All right, now that we have that in place, let's go ahead and dimension our overall for the bottom. Let's change the dimension style back to linear. Let's go ahead and get the overall bottom taken care of. Pull that in at 2. Then we have our 0.25. So let's go ahead and measure that out. There's 1. And then here's 2. Make sure to line it up with the other side so it looks nice and neat. Let's go ahead and repeat our linear dimension. We're going to go ahead and get this 1.25. Now, one key thing you want to make sure you do is you always want to put on the end of a line your dimension. Then I'm going to place the end of the line on this side. Now, because it's linear, it'll go up or down or left to right. And that looks right about good. So we'll place it right there. Right click, repeat linear dimension, placing it here and here. And we can move it up nice and clear. Now we need the 0.1. Let's repeat linear dimension. If you need to, zoom in, endpoint to endpoint, and placing your dimension right there. All right, now let's go ahead and get the left-hand side. Repeat linear dimensions to the overall. Nice big opening. Right-click, repeat linear dimension. We want this dimension to go down, so we're going to start here and go down to here. And we can pull that dimension in nice and clear. Right-click, repeat linear dimension. Let's go ahead and place 1 here, 2 here. And we want it to line up with that arrow, so place it there. Right-click, repeat linear dimension. Placing that dimension here, 2 here. Oh, let's hit escape. I hit the wrong spot. If you look closely, you can see that's the depth of that slot cut right there. So we'll go ahead and we'll place it here at the top, and then we'll bring our line all the way over to that slot, and then pull it across this way. And now we have our 1. All right, let's look over the drawing. Looks like we're looking pretty good. Got all the dimensions on the top. Got our dimensions on the sides. All right, looking nice and clean. Let's go ahead and get the overall dimension for the side view. Repeat linear dimension. Selecting the 2 top points and pulling that dimension up and placing it accordingly. All right, so our drawing looks nice and neat. I'm going to go ahead and check our drawing. Everything looks good. I'm going to go ahead and remove this because you don't need this. Delete key. Now, something that I didn't go over for the beginning of this is that you should always save your drawing. Let's go ahead and do that now. Let's go ahead and save as. Now, make sure you save your work in your work folder. There should be your name and then the chapter you're working on. And then this is the drawing. I should remember what that is. Let's go ahead and hit the undo button, get that little note back. 6.11. Let's go ahead and delete that. Let's go ahead and save. And type in 6.11. And we'll save that accordingly. Now the drawing is saved. Saving before you start the project is always a good idea, because if you ever experience a power outage or anything like that, you may lose your work. So always try and make sure you save. Now, let's go ahead and finish this drawing up. We have everything all drawn out. Everything's dimensioned correctly. Now we're going to go to a size sheet, 8.5 by 11. landscape. Go ahead and click on that viewport on the inside. Center scroll to center it up. Then we're going to go ahead and change our scale to 1:1. Now, everything on my screen fit very well. If yours is a little bit too far to the left or too far to the right, all you have to do is go ahead and go back into model space. And then you can highlight the drawing and move it left or right as needed. Also the same with the dimensions. If you end up finding yourself with a dimension that's too far out this way, you can grab one of those grips and pull it back in, keeping it nice and neat. If you have any dimensions that line up, you can highlight both dimensions, grab a common grip, and you can move it to the left or to the right as needed. Go ahead and hit escape. We go back to the layout. And mine here looks pretty good. At this point, go ahead and fill in the project, the scale, drawn by, and sheet 1 of 1. Remember to change these. You can go ahead and double click on the gray area to get out of the viewport. Select any of the text, and then you can go ahead and erase what's written on here and put in the information necessary. All right, once you've done all that, let's go ahead and save the drawing again. Once you're saved, we're going to go ahead and print the drawing as a PDF. Go to the A, print. When this message comes up, or if this message comes up, continue the single plot. Make sure you're at drawing to PDF. And if you're using the correct template, everything should be set up for you. We can go ahead and preview, make sure everything looks nice and neat, good and clean. Exit that when you're done. And then you're going to go ahead and hit OK. Once you hit OK, you'll be prompted to go ahead and save the drawing in a location. This is where you'll save your work for your PDFs that you'll submit to the teacher. This has been the 6.11 tutorial, and we'll see you in the classroom. Bye-bye.